here's my Trek Rail e-bike. It's the e-bike that I've been racing the e-bike Enduro World Series races the last few years. It's a size medium with a really nice custom cool paint graphic, kind of a smoke effect that's been available for the team riders. I'm going to start at the bottom and kind of work my way up. So wheels and tyres, I've chosen a downhill casing for tyres, downhill strength rim. I have tried kind of a lighter weight stuff. I mean, sometimes I probably will if it's slightly more pedaling, but if it's potentially very much gravity fed and there's a chance of puncturing, going for that slightly heavier but more durable combination of tyres and rims is definitely a winner. Always now tubeless. There's no tubes in any of the wheels that I run. It does mean that if you do get a puncture, hopefully if the cut's not too big, the goo inside the tyre will actually continue around and hopefully seal that hole. If it is too big, then on my backpack I've always got something pretty handy close by, basically a stabby thing. I can stab in what is a little bit of a tyre noodle, which will hopefully seal that hole. A quick fix. I've done them mid-race run and actually managed to get going back on the trail within a couple of minutes, so it's a pretty easy fix. Braking. E-bikes are heavy. Gravity racing on e-bikes is a fast business, and trying to stop them can be quite challenging. So I've gone for SRAM's 220 size discs, so the biggest disc rotors you can get out there, just to help that stopping power. Pad choice, again, dependent on the weather, but generally I'm going for metal pads, not organic. Depends your personal choice, but they work pretty well. And there's the SRAM Code Ultimate levers, which again are one of their most kind of powerful, strong brake levers. And now with hydraulic disc brakes, you really do only need one thing for braking. You can really pull on them, and they're stopping these really well. Suspension, RockShox Zeb fork on the front. I've been playing around between a Zeb and a Lyric. The Lyric's a slightly lighter fork, a bit less treble. And again, dependent on the terrain, if it's a really gravity-fed one, I'll go for the Zeb. It's stiffer, it's got more suspension. And if it's more of a pedaling, I'm trying to save weight, maybe I would go for the Lyric. So there's options there within RockShox. This is now 170 and 170 on the rear, I want to say, 175 maybe. I've messed around with 160 with the Lyric, but generally I've just kept it 170. And again, can change dependent. I've got a coil shock that I also have an option to run, and again, if it's really gravity fed and I want that slightly more plush and sensitivity, I can change that. So, and often we will change the setup depending on the course and the terrain, a little bit, but not loads. I tend to now, because I'm not riding and testing as much as I did when I was racing full time, I think I'm much better at kind of sticking with something that's pretty generic and works, rather than having all those, you spend days testing all the little nuances of suspension. So I've kind of got something that generally works and I can jump on and know how it's going to react. Mudguard, again, it seems crazy, but actually makes a huge difference. Your vision and where you see on the trail ultimately is going to work out how fast you go, and also potential for crashes, you can see. So trying to stop mud going in your eyes is really, really key. Even on days when you don't think you need a mudguard, I still think not having mud in my eyes is super important. Rapid Racer makes some really cool bolt-on ones now, so there's no flexibility, there's no creaking and all those things you used to get with mudguards. So the most important part of this bike is the Bosch race motor. This is the race-specific motor, which is a little bit lighter than the standard CX motor. It's also got the option to have a race mode, so it's in like an extra mode on top of the normal ones, which gives you that extra bit of power. It's not extra power, actually, it's more delivery. It really delivers it fast in an aggressive manner. The Bosch motor delivers 85 Newton meters of torque, so really helps you on those steep climbs, and a maximum power of 600 watts. And you've got the ability to change those modes here on this little mini remote, so no display, just for me, just a quick way of changing the modes. I don't need to know how far I've gone or which one I'm in. Different colours, options that you've got. You start off with an Eco, which is basically the one that will last as long as possible and just give you a minimal amount of assistance when you're pedaling. Then you go to EMTB, which is actually the most kind of normal bike feeling. So the more effort you put in, the more the motor gives you that assistance. So it's a really nice feeling, and when you put the hammer down, the bike really assists you as well. Then you go to Turbo, which again is maximum power right from the get-go. As soon as you touch those pedals, it's giving you that assistance and really helping you along the trail. And then the race mode, which again is just a slightly more aggressive version of that power delivery for split seconds out of corners, really getting to top speed as quick as you can. They all will cut out at 25k an hour. That is the legal limit for assistance with a pedal bike. You do get to that point where you suddenly get to 25k and suddenly you've lost that assistance, and you can definitely feel like you're on an e-bike. But generally a lot of the courses are designed now so we stay within that remit, so you're always on the cusp trying to go 25k an hour as fast as you can with the help. Battery is also another really important thing. So for racing, we're allowed to have 2 batteries throughout the day. The Trek ones are nicely hidden in here, a really nice kind of cover. The battery slots in here, it comes out. You get half an hour to change that battery in between the loops in the e-bike racing. And you can also get different sizes. So the 750 watts is now the biggest watt-hour battery. This is the biggest batteries. Obviously, they're heavier, but they do last longer and give you more ride time. And we can also get 625 watt-hour batteries, which you can still fit in the same space with just a bit of a space end to fill that gap. So again, with racing, I often switch between 625 and 750, depending on if I don't need that 750 battery to get me around the loop, I would prefer to take that weight away and put a smaller one in. So there's a few choices you can make there in terms of battery size. SRAM cranks, I've gone for 155 length cranks, so they're pretty short compared to what most people would use on a standard bike. Again, it's just to try and stop those rock strikes when you're climbing up technical terrain. You have to get timed up hills. You can keep pedaling, which you need to on an e-bike to keep that momentum and keep that drive from the motor. If you try to limit the amount of times your feet catch the ground or hit rocks, then it makes a big difference. So it enables you to really kind of be seated and pedal more with a shorter crank. Gearing, again, SRAM 12 speed gives me a huge range of gears with what I've got there, for fast stuff and for the climbing. Everything is wireless now with the SRAM electronic shifting. So again, there's no cables to worry about, nothing to kind of maintain in that respect, and it's instant direct shifting with a really nice paddle on my handlebars here, so up and down, really nice, fits to your hand, really ergonomic, and it's really quick, fast acting shifting. It's the new T-type version, so that rear mech that you can see, it sits really flush to the frame, it's not sticking out further, and if you do get injury like rock strikes, or if you do fall, the bike falls onto that side, there's no hanger to damage, there's none of that kind of mech breaking. So that's another really good, strong, I guess, a new invention that's trying to come up with, which is going to be help everyone in terms of making sure they get to the race finish line without any injuries to the bike or them. What else have we got? Handlebars, gone for a fairly short 35mm stem, again just for handling and making it reach perfect for me. I've also gone for an alloy bar versus carbon, just again the stiffness of the fork, stiffness of some of the, I felt like I was getting quite a lot of hand cramps, so I've gone for a slightly more forgiving metal, I would say, using the alloy rather than the carbon. Really thin ODI grips, I've got pretty small hands. Again, grip and your hand control is really important, so not having big spongy grips means I'm more directing control. There's a little one-up tool tucked away in here in my headset, so if I need an Allen key on the fly, there's one in there, which is all these little mod things now, which are always real useful, carrying stuff on the fly. A bracket here that I can attach my Garmin to if I need to record the ride. My on-off switch for my motor is in here. And then the way I change the modes is now a little mini remote. There's no big kind of kiosk that sometimes you see on the other bikes. There's now literally just this. I've got a little up and down button for shifting between the modes and the powers. I feel like I don't need to know which mode I'm in terms of a display telling me. It changes the colour depending on which mode I'm in, so I know. I also don't need the time and the date and all the other information for racing. I think that's not important. I can have that on my Garmin if I need it. And then over here I've got my dropper post, which allows me to drop down the saddle height, which again, game changer when it comes to gravity racing and pedaling uphill, to be able to have the ultimate, or any increment to that saddle position is really important. A saddle that I find comfy, everyone's got their preference. I do find this one with the hole in the middle, I think it fits me, and it fits generally most females tend to find that's quite comfy. And whether you can see, I've got it quite far forward on the rail, and that's more because when you're climbing steep stuff, it's really important to try and get that body weight and that weight over the front wheel so you're not looping out and really just playing around the body position. So I find whacking my saddle quite forward helps, certainly on this bike and the racing side of it. The only thing I haven't said was pedals. Again, my choice, clipped-in pedals. SVDs, I've always done that for many years. I think it does help with efficiency. I do try and still go back to flat pedals, and I have been using this bike during the winter with flat pedals on, just because you start to sometimes creep in bad habits with pulling on your feet, and I think just makes you realise using flats how much you need to really work on your technique. But I think for racing, again, being clipped in efficiency is really important. And other than that, that is my race bike.